Hi, I'm Justin from Arcsky, and in this video I'll be talking about how to plan an automated mission using the Arcsky Control app on the HereLink controller. Keep in mind, you can also use the desktop version of Q Ground Control to plan these sort of missions, but in this video we'll only be focusing on the Arcsky Control app on the HereLink. So in front of me on the table here, I have the HereLink controller. I've also got the X-55 aircraft and the Sony ILX LR1 mapping package. If you want more information about this payload, you can find that on our website. We have a whole web page dedicated to it. So to get started here, I want to make a note that you don't need the aircraft powered on or the payload powered on to do any of this planning. We'll leave the aircraft as is right now. And the only thing that I need to do is turn the HereLink on. In this case, I've previously turned it on. So I'm just going to go to the home page here and open the Arcsky Control app. I'll give that a few seconds to load up. Another note that I will bring up at this point is that if you'll be in the field and you won't have access to internet, something you can do at this stage is load offline maps for your usage in the field. So to do that, I'll click on the little Arcsky icon in the top left corner, go to Application Settings, click on Offline Maps, and then Add New Set. And in this case, I will navigate on the map, find the area of interest where we're going to be working. The default zoom levels are typically fine for our application. Once that is selected, I'll click on the Download button. And within a few seconds, as long as it's a small area, the map should download. So in this case, we've got it all set up. This will allow us to use that map later on when we're out in the field and we don't have an active internet connection. So to get started with planning the mission, I'll go to the Plan icon, which is this little A to B route icon. Once I open that up, the first thing that we'll notice is the top toolbar, and that gives us some information about the selected waypoints. Some of the most important things here are details about the total mission, such as the distance that you'll be covering, the farthest distance away from the takeoff location, and the estimated time to complete this mission. And these will be populated later once we build the full mission. On the left-hand side, we have Plan tools. And these are tools that you use on the majority of your missions, like specifying a takeoff location, your survey grid patterns, and a few more options. So on your right, this is your mission items list. This is where you'll see the specific details of the mission commands, like flight altitude, waypoint location, etc. And next to the mission, there is a fence option. If I click on that, that allows you to insert a polygon or circular fence around your mission area, and this will stop the aircraft from flying out beyond that particular area that you've outlined. We're not going to actually implement one of these, but this is where the tool is. Next is rally, and rally points, just like it says on the screen here, give you alternate landing points when an RTL command is triggered. So if you're running a particularly long mission and you want to have some other safe spots that you can land, this is where you can add those into the mission. We also won't be doing that in this particular flight, but those things exist here, and just know that you can use those when your mission demands that. Okay, so let's go back to the Mission tab. On the bottom of the screen also you will see that we have an altitude overview, and this will give you an overview of the flight altitude as well as the terrain altitude. It's a secondary check so you know that the aircraft is maintaining the right distance above the terrain. So to plan a simple survey mission, we're going to use this field as an example. In this tutorial, we'll set the waypoint altitude to 40 meters, and we're going to use altitude relative to launch. There are a few different altitude modes here that can be used, but for simplicity, we're going to use relative to launch on this example. Now let's go into vehicle info. These items are something that you shouldn't adjust. The main thing I'm looking for here is hover speed. And for this mission, we'll be flying at 6 meters per second. This gives you a good estimation of the time for the mission. This does not actually change any speeds for your mission. So the first thing that we need to do is set a takeoff location. I'm going to go to the plan toolbar and click takeoff. I'll zoom in on the map, try to set the exact spot where we'll be taking off. And it doesn't have to be perfect, that's close enough. It just helps estimate all of your time and distances in the mission. Next, I'll be adding a survey pattern. So I click on pattern and then survey. And in this case, we'll be doing a rectangular or polygon pattern. I don't want to check circular or trace, I just want to click basic. And this puts in just a basic survey. All of the end points can be adjusted. So I'll start by dragging those more in line to where I actually want to conduct the survey. Okay, once you've finished your survey, you can go over to the right panel and check the parameters. In this case, we have a basic setup with a front lap and side lap of 70%. Our altitude again is 40 meters. And we can also adjust our angle of the mission. In our case, it's 192, but if you wanted to, for example, fly the mission this way, you just drag it in that direction. But I'm going to drag it back. Okay. We also have turnaround distance, and that is how much distance the aircraft takes beyond the edge of the polygon that you drew. In the options here, one of the most important things that you might have to check is to refly the mission at a 90-degree offset, and that checkbox can be selected here if you need that. That may be useful for certain photogrammetry missions. And finally, there is a button to rotate the entry point. You can see in our mission, the entry point is in the bottom left where the number 2 icon is. But if I click this, you can see that that entry point moves to different edges of the mission. For now, we'll leave it in the bottom left. In the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we see statistics. This will give you your approximate area, how many photos you'll be taking, the time interval between photos, and also the distance between each photo. Next, we can scroll up a little bit and click on the camera icon. This is where you can select different cameras or set custom settings for a specific camera that you're using, such as the sensor size, image size, and focal length. If you get a camera package from us, this should all be specified and you don't have to change anything here unless you're using a different lens. In our case today, we're using the Sony ILX LR1 package with the 35mm lens. So this option is already populated here, and it's got all the sensor parameters and focal length information here already filled out. Next, we can click on the terrain icon. We'll be using relative to launch as our altitude mode for this mapping mission, so we won't change anything here. Lastly, we want to make sure that we have the return to launch command set at the very end. If you don't have a return to launch set, the X-55 will just hover at the last waypoint, and you'll have to press the RTL button on the controller or manually land the X-55. So to do that, just click on the return button, and that will give you a return to launch. So now that you have the mission planned, you can save the mission to the controller and then upload it to the X-55 when you're in the field and actually ready to fly. So to do that, press the file icon on the plan toolbar and then click on the Save As button. And then give it a descriptive name that you'll remember. And then finally click OK. So that's saved it to the controller, and even if we power down on the controller, it will be there available next time we open the Arcsky Control app. So that's how you plan a basic mission using the Arcsky Control app. Keep in mind, as I mentioned earlier, you can also do this on the QGC desktop application. The workflow is basically the same. So I hope that you found this video useful, and we'll see you next time.